But you realize you can't go to somebody that doesn't have anything to ask, and you can't put more pressure on that person. So you kind of got to help yourself. My dad worked 2 jobs. I didn't even stay with my dad up until late high school. We didn't even own our own house. My mom left when we were 10. I think back to it now. But every cent he made, he put into myself and my brother to try and give us some form of life that he never had. The young Elton was getting hidings every day for ADHD,
Right.
which they didn't understand what it was, so they just called you naughty.
Yeah, you were naughty kid.
So I think up until standard 7, which is what now, grade 9, I used to get like 2-3 hidings a week.
For what? What were you doing?
Don't concentrate. I can see what they're talking about. I kind of understand it. I don't need to know more.
So like school-related, academia.
Yeah. So I was...
Asian folks, I mean, it's quite a big thing. Was like
No.
academics a big thing for them or not really?
No, my dad never told me what to do.
Well, that's why I asked, what were you getting the hidings for? Because it was all
All the teachers. Back then,
School-related.
corporal punishment. You get 6 of the best. That's what it was called.
Were you
6
one
of the
of those,
best.
like-
And I was never unruly. I just didn't listen. I'd land up fiddling, drawing, not concentrating, talking.
and nothing really, when you're in school, nothing's really interesting you and you're thinking,
No, you're more waiting for break. You're waiting to go, when you're really young, play marbles, basically. You know, and then socialize with the friends that you do have, which is, I didn't have many. But, and then young Elton used to have to run because I had to walk past an Afrikaans school. And I had to run past the Afrikaans school on my way home so I don't get bullied.
okay.
Oh.
And this was where? This wasn't in Springs.
No, this was now here in Melbourne.
Okay.
Parents well off or?
No, we grew up. My dad was the middle, so my dad was one of 9, and my eldest uncle, they were in a township, and
In Springs, that's
in
why I
Springs,
mentioned Springs.
11, 12 of them lived in one house. It was the apartheid area, and they lived basically in a township. And my one uncle went out, and he said, "Well, people outside of the township, there's a thing called an education. There's a thing called a schooling system." And the 4 eldest never got that opportunity. But my uncle fought back against his father, and my dad was one of the 4 or 5 that actually ended up being forced to go to school because my uncle realized that they were so far behind in where the rest of the world or where South Africa was.
So getting hidings coming up in school, any plan in your mind, I want to do X, Y, Z when I get out, or what was the plan? Elton didn't have a plan, right?
No, I understood marketing. I understood supply and demand, even in school. So when you're in school and you don't fit in anywhere, I landed up in a Chinese boarding school that was about 1990, 1991. They opened the school up quite a bit more. So it was predominantly Chinese, but you still don't fit in. So to fit in, I sold comic books, skateboard parts. I thought, how do you fit in a world that you don't feel you're a part of? And that was to create a demand in something that people would come to you for.
But those days, there's like no cell phone and technology. How do you figure out where to get stock from and...
Kind of work it out. You come home on a Friday from boarding school and you go look around and...
Scaling.
Yeah.
Scale it.
Now, you guys are making it seem like it's very obvious. I mean, if I'm thinking back to my high school years, my folks would drop me off at school and pick me up. I'd go for extracurriculars. I was also that naughty, chirpy type. But I still wasn't thinking, let me figure out how to make a plan and get stock and sell things. So it might, in your mind, it's probably easy, but I really, how do you get...
But the thing is, we came, Yash and I have come from, we'd like to think we're for the people, but we actually came from quite a bit of privilege, if I had to be honest. We were sheltered as kids growing up. I can understand from your perspective what you're saying about, you would try and do whatever you had to earn a buck in order to give you that, amount of pocket money to go and do something else that you were interested in. So you didn't ask your parents. You couldn't ask Daddy Lau for anything.
My dad didn't have much. He worked 2 jobs. My mom left when we were 10. My dad worked 2 jobs. I didn't even stay with my dad up until late high school. We didn't even own our own house. So my dad was, I think back to it now, but every cent he made, he put into myself and my brother to try and give us some form of life that he never had. And during that time, you kind of understand the pressure, and you realize if you don't make it money yourself and you don't look after yourself, your dad's just trying to hold things together for
survival more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see the context behind my question.
No, I get your question. So where did that stem from? It stemmed from not having anything, and then realizing all these people around you have things, and you can't go to. I don't know if I was just a little bit more mature back then, because it was just me and my brother. But you realize you can't go to somebody that doesn't have anything to ask, and you can't put more pressure on that person. So you kind of got to help yourself.
That's fascinating. So it's the entrepreneurial spirit. It's also not necessarily a natural thing. It's also a necessity type of thing, almost, or not really. Or
Not anymore. Yeah. Now you just enjoy building things. You enjoy figuring things out, solving complex problems.